This is the Farm Monitor. For over 50 years, your source for agribusiness news and features from around the Southeast and across the country, focusing on one of the nation's top industries, agriculture. The Farm Monitor is produced by one of the largest general farm organizations, the Georgia Farm Bureau. Now here are your hosts, Ray DeLessio and Kenny Bergamy.
Yes, another Farm Monitor off and running without Kenny B. He is on assignment this week, but that is the only change in format. We still got a great show for you. Coming up, we're going to dive into the recent trade signings, what to expect as far as exports, and the pros and cons moving forward. Also on the program, the future of dairy has officially begun here in Georgia. After months, even years of talking about it and planning for it, Hillcrest Dairy is now the first all-robotic milking operation in the entire state of Georgia. We'll hear from owner Mark RODGERS on why he made the investment. And then later, think you've got a lot on your plate in 2020? Wait until you hear what all they've got going at the National Cotton Commission. These stories and so much more, starting right now on the Farm Monitor. After more than 18 months of negotiations, the world's two largest economies have finally agreed on a new trade agreement. And while phase one of the new deal with China should encourage farmers, they should also know there is still plenty of uncertainty. Damon Jones has the story.
The long wait is finally over. After more than a year and a half of negotiations and escalating tariffs, the trade war with China has officially come to an end. And with it comes a commitment from the world's second largest importer to buy an increased amount of U.S. agricultural goods.
Short term, I think the deal is very specific about it. For 2020, the expectation is that China would import $12.5 billion more than the 2017 baseline. And the 2017 baseline, I've seen multiple numbers, okay? The National Farm Bureau has it at 19.5 billion. So if you add that, you're looking at 32 billion. And China is supposed to strive for another 5 billion. So that's 37 billions in 2020, okay? And so that's the short term. And for 2021, the numbers are higher. They go up to a total of 44 billion. So it averages to about 40 billion every year of the 2 year of the deal.
Despite the new deal, there hasn't been a drastic change on the commodity prices, as there are still a number of questions to be answered over the coming months.
The administration has individual commodity targets. We are not sure that's value or quantity, but they do have it by soybeans, by cotton, by meat, and so on, but that's not out in the public yet. Okay, so until we see data come out on particular commodities, and see some action in terms of imports, volumes, quantities, and values as well, we're probably not going to see a big move in the market.
However, one sector that is extremely optimistic is the poultry industry, as China agreed to lift a more than 5-year ban on U.S. imports.
They removed the restriction that was put in place because of avian influenza, HPAI, back in 2014. So now they're open for the parts of meat that we generally export to China.
So while there is plenty of optimism throughout the ag community, there are still concerns about just how realistic it is for China to reach their import quota.
Anytime two people can sit down and discuss their problems and find a way forward, that's a good thing. So we should be encouraged by that. But the skepticism out there is about the targets and how China is going to meet those targets. And so while we are encouraged, we should also be cautious and look for data as they come out in terms of their purchases. So at the end of the day, is there demand for it? And that's the biggest story. And from what I've checked, prices of some commodities have actually fallen inside China because the demand's weakening. And they're also having a good crop on many cases inside.
And as for enforcement, any conflict will be settled not by a neutral mediator, but instead by the two sides with an agreement that there will be no retaliations for actions taken.
So that's very interesting that we cannot solve this dispute, so we are going to put a tariff on you. Okay, you either take the tariff or you walk away from the entire deal. And that is a very unique enforcement arrangement.
Reporting from Athens, I'm Damon Jones for the Farm Monitor.
Meantime, Georgia milk producers gathered in Savannah recently for the annual Georgia Dairy Conference. This event, of course, brings farmers from different parts of the state together to network and to learn about new products and techniques to boost their dairy's bottom line. John Holcomb was there. He has the recap.
In Savannah recently, dairy producers in the state of Georgia gathered under one roof to discuss the dairy industry. It was a time of fellowship and education as producers heard from experts about the many issues facing their industry.
This conference is held every year in January. Our organization is funded by 1 cent checkoff from the dairy farmers' milk check, so it's a producer-funded organization. We on the program committee try to make sure that we choose speakers that have relevance to the current issues facing the dairy industry and can deliver that information in a format that the producers in attendance can take back home and apply in their business.
One of the biggest issues that the dairy industry is facing is low prices, which has even prompted dairy closings all over the country and 2 major dairies to file for bankruptcy. However, there was some good news at the conference as producers got to hear about the 2020 outlook, in which prices are expected to be up, according to Calvin Covington, former CEO of Southeast Milk.
Last year was a better year for them. Milk prices were up about $2 a hundredweight, and my current projection for 2020 is that blend prices in Georgia and other southeast areas will be up about $1.25 a hundredweight. So milk prices are moving up after some poor years in the past.
That upward shift in prices can be attributed to an increase in demand for U.S. milk.
Cow numbers are declining. Overall milk production last year was only up about 0.3%, but our demand was up actually even more. We had a real good year for domestic demand. It was up over 2%. Our exports were down last year, but when you put both of them together, our demand was up over 0.5%. So again, it exceeded what our production was up.
Those in attendance also got to hear about anti-animal agricultural activists, which is a growing threat to producers as groups try to ruin the reputation of not only dairies, but anyone with livestock in the U.S.
Unfortunately, there are groups and individuals out there who are opposed to what we do in animal agriculture and very aggressively working to undermine our reputation. So we spend a lot of time monitoring groups and different things they're doing on the farm, everything from protests, targeting transportation, targeting restaurant and retail brands to pressure them, trying to get hired on farms, really any way they can try to undermine the reputation and present a negative depiction of animal agriculture. That's what these groups are doing.
Weeman urged producers to make sure they have certain security measures in place to help make sure their farms are protected.
Anyone who has a farm, who's handling livestock in any way, should have some farm security procedures in place. Things like gates, motion sensor lighting, locking doors, managing employees, employee training, preparing for a protest, proactively talking to law enforcement about how to handle these type of things. I know it takes time, but that time will be very well spent if you do ever face an issue.
Reporting in Savannah for the Farm Monitor, I'm John Holcomb.
All right, thank you, John. And we are just getting started with the dairy talk. After the break, a trip to Georgia's very first robotic dairy. Hillcrest Farms owner Mark RODGERS talks about why the decision was made to go high-tech.
The Holstein cow is the most iconic symbol in all of agriculture. She's recognized immediately with her black and white pattern, and thanks to generations of dairy farmers committed to the Holstein breed, she's a cow that's well equipped for the future. Holstein Association USA President Corey Geiger.
We know more about the Holstein cow than anything on the planet except the human. With over 3.5 million genomic tests, we're doing a deeper dive into what the potential Holstein is. We can breed a cow that can thrive in a hot climate. We can breed a cow that can thrive in a cold climate. We can breed a cow that can do well in grazing. There's that kind of genetic diversity out there.
Holstein Association USA is the world's largest dairy breed organization, and its registry contains more than 22 million registered Holstein animals. With this performance database as the foundation, U.S. registered Holsteins lead the way in the global market too.
As we look at the Holstein cow, we think about what she can do in America. We also must think about what she does around the world. And in 2018, for the first time in history, there was more Holstein semen from the United States sold around the globe than there was here on our shores in America. The embryo market internationally is picking up as well. And we've had a lot of discussions from Indonesia to China to Turkey to Russia to Vietnam of interest in potentially buying heifers. I think an initiative we really need to focus on is opening markets to live cattle exports. I think there's a demand for that.
Expanded research on milk profiles, components, and genomics of the cow's udder will be a major opportunity in the years ahead, Geiger explains. Armed with a better understanding of the scientific makeup of dairy products, farmers can make genetic selections towards specific consumer demands. In a world where data is power, the Holstein breed is well positioned for the future.
The U.S. registered Holstein cow is definitely the cow of the future. We know so much about her genetics. We need to continue to build upon that so that she can continue to provide good dairy products for consumers around our country. The most important part of sustainability is being economically sustainable. If the Holstein can do that for our membership, then we have a win for all Holstein breeders.
For Holstein Association USA, I'm Miles Ramsey.
Yeah, and you know what they say, a happy Holstein is a profitable Holstein, or something along those lines. And of course, making a profit, all while being efficient, is what it's all about at Hillcrest Farms in Deering, Georgia. But there's another saying, and that's the fact that you have to spend money in order to make money. In the last year and a half, Hillcrest spent both a lot of money and time upgrading to the future of milking. One done by robots, and one that is the first of its kind here in Georgia.
The reason we went to robots here at Hillcrest was for our next generation that's going to run the farm. My daughter and my nephew, we were talking about building a new parlor, and with that kind of investment, we were halfway to buying robots. So we decided to build a new facility, put robots in, and it also would be better on them and more challenging than the monotonous milking that we were doing before every 8 hours. Now the cows go milk when they want to milk, so it's better on my daughter and my nephew. It's better on our staff. It gives them flexibility to go watch their kids play a ball game and then come back and finish their chores because the cows are still milking. So I think it just really makes for a better work environment for the next generation coming on. The timeline for this, it took us a good 2 years in doing our due diligence, going to visit other robot barns to see how they were managing their cows. It is a different way to manage cattle. It is a better way to manage your cows. It is more comfortable for the cows. They kind of just stay in the barn and do what they want to do every day. They go to a brush when they want a massage, and then they come to the robot when they want to milk, and they go eat anytime 24/7 when they want to eat. So the cow sets her day. And it allows us also to have flexibility as well as the cow. So all this stuff went into the process of learning or how we were going to do this process. The technology with these robots are awesome. So now they can go to micromanaging the cow's day. They can look at all this data from the robot. They know her motion in 3 dimensions. They know what each individual quarter of that cow gave that day. It monitors the quality of the milk, and it lets us know if there's a problem, and it diverts it down the drain. It cleans the cow better, and it does it consistently. Every day, 24 hours a day, it's going to do the exact same thing. And you can take the best human in the world and you cannot be that repetitive. It was a concern would they give less milk when we went to robots. We were the top producing dairy in the state per cow at that time. And with robots, it gives you the opportunity to manage when she's milking. So we may want to milk her less times as she gives less milk. We can adjust her permissions to come to the robot. So when she's given a lot of milk, we can actually milk them 4 or 5 times a day when they come to the robot, but they set the schedule, not us. Cows learn faster than people. Within about 3 days, you can see individual cows going, wow, I'm gonna outrun you and go in this robot and get milk. They just love it. It takes about 3 weeks for staff to start understanding the process, and it doesn't take so much outside guidance to keep us going from day to day. And you could really tell a difference at 2 months in. It was starting to get easier on us, and we were starting to relax from the strain of making this transition. Did I second guess myself during this process? Sure. With me and Andy at our age, this is a huge investment, and it's a long-term investment. But I think down the road, with getting harder to find labor, I think it was a good investment in the labor that I had to challenge them, a good investment in the Gen 4s, our Generation 4s coming in to manage the business now. And my goal here is I want to be the guy that does some farm tours, and people come in and go, hey, I'd like to see Georgia's first robotic dairy. They'll come in, I'll have a tram, we'll ride around the farm, I'll show them sustainable agriculture. I can show them the most technologically advanced dairy in the state of Georgia with the robotics and all we have here and all the work that goes into production of food here at Hillcrest.
Yeah, it's really incredible to see those things in action. And you know, Mark gave us so much great material when we were there that we decided to go ahead and do a part 2 of the Hillcrest robots. That's coming up on next week's show. You will see Mark give us the ins and outs of the robots, what all they're doing at any given time. Really fascinating, and Mark does a great job explaining things in a way that even a non-dairy person will be able to comprehend. Again, that is coming up next week. In the meantime, when we come back, profiling American Farm Bureau's Farm Dog of the Year. And needless to say, he's a smart one. Stay tuned. Well, 2020 will no doubt be a busy year for U.S. cotton industry leadership. The NCC, aka the National Cotton Council, continues its work with U.S. government officials to improve access for U.S. cotton and cotton products in overseas markets, including China. Dr. Gary Adams, President and CEO of the National Cotton Council, discusses the industry's priorities on all fronts.
One of the main issues we're going to continue to work on is implementation of the new Farm Bill. USDA is moving forward with that program, with the implementation. We know sign-up is underway now, so we're going to continue to follow that closely as that moves forward in the spring. I think right now, overall implementation has been moving along relatively smoothly. So that's an issue we're going to continue to keep an eye on as that moves forward. We're also continuing to monitor some of the disaster assistance that has been provided by Congress. USDA is administering that now. First, there was the WHIP Plus that was available for the hurricane and flood damage, and now we have an expansion of that program and now available for some of the areas affected by drought. Moving over to the trade front, obviously, that we want to keep an eye on as part of as China dispute is being resolved is the support that's been provided under the market facilitation program. USDA has provided 2 of those payments that have been approved. We hope they'll follow through in the early part of 2020 and provide that 3rd payment, as we still understand there's a lot of economic challenges facing U.S. producers as they move into 2020, particularly if they suffered crop losses in 2019. Other industry activities that we're going to be very involved with are on the front of sustainability. That has been a focus of the industry and now even greater focus of the U.S. cotton industry as we look to launch the U.S. Cotton Trust Protocol, which is a farm-level program that is designed to drive continuous improvement by producers. It's also designed to reinforce to the textile supply chain and to the brands and retailers that U.S. cotton is the most sustainable, that it is the responsible choice in their supply lines. We're going to be rolling that out in a bigger launch as we move into the 2nd quarter of 2020. We have a pilot phase underway now. So we're very excited about that new initiative, and we'll be talking more about it at industry meetings as we move forward into 2020. We will also continue a lot of the ongoing efforts that we have. We'll monitor developments on the regulatory side. We're going to continue with our education efforts in the industry to do what we can to fight some of the plastic contamination that we're seeing. So those are some ongoing efforts as well. So when we look across the gamut of the issues the Council is dealing with, we do anticipate it to be a busy year. We're going to continue to work for the industry's priorities and hopefully do what we can to try to keep all segments of the industry operating in a profitable manner.
Yeah, that's a pretty hefty to-do list, isn't it? Finally this week, there were a number of incredible submissions, but in the end, American Farm Bureau named Flint as its 2020 Farm Bureau Dog of the Year. There's a little guy behind me right there. The contest celebrates farm dogs that work alongside farmers and ranchers to produce nutritious food for their families and pets across America. Flint, by the way, is an Australian Shepherd from Utah who, according to his owners, is a staple in their family.
I think it's amazing to be able to have somebody, especially a dog, that's kind of gone through everything with you. I've had Flint since I was a teenager, and I've had him through the time that I went to college and got married and have started my career. He's been with me through so many different life stages, and I think it's really important for us as people to have that. When Rhett and I got married, Flint started working on the ranch. He was about 7 years old. Flint never really had the opportunity to learn as a young dog how to work cattle and work so many stock at one time.
Some ranch dogs start when they're just pups. It was really cool to see how easy it was for him to learn and to adapt and to work with us. At a later age in his life, he has this natural intuition to see things and perceive things and to work with the livestock in a way that us humans cannot.
Flint's able to go out there and move the herd in a very low-stress way and knows how to keep the group together and is able to change how he's working to what we need at that exact moment. I learn a little bit more about his mind every time we work. He's so highly intelligent. Sometimes I'm asking him to do something with the cattle and he'll ignore me. Here, Flint. For a second, I'll be mad that he ignored me, and then I realized that he knew what the cattle needed better than I did. You could tell that it's in his blood, and it's all natural instinct that he's working off of. It's just built into him. We recently got a couple of younger dogs that Flint's been kind of mentoring. When they're out there working the livestock, I'll notice that the younger dogs are following Flint. And when they're not sure what to do, they look to Flint. He's helped to teach them and train them to be the same type of dog.
A lot of times people don't understand how important a ranch dog is to a rancher. They can reduce the labor costs on a ranch. They can increase the efficiency. They can reduce the stress that are on the livestock. While all of those things are important, at the end of the day, these dogs, they are part of our family. They truly enrich our lives and make ranching really the best job in the world.
If we hadn't had Flint to kind of put this legacy on us and on our ranch, then we wouldn't know today the necessity of a good working dog. Flint is definitely getting up there in age. He doesn't know, and you can't look at him and know that he's 11 and a half years old. He's out there constantly working his muscles and his heart and his lungs. He's also doing something that he loves. I mean, there's nothing that he would rather do than be able to go to work every day. And I think that that's really helped to keep Flint young. We know that one day Flint's not going to be able to be out here chasing livestock and working the cattle like he does right now. One day he's going to have to retire from the farm and from his ranch work, but for now he's going to go out every day and keep doing the thing that he's passionate about. I know that I'm never going to be able to replace him, and there's never going to be another Flint in my life. He's definitely completed me. He's just made that long-term impact to my life.
Way to go, Flint. Great dog, isn't he? Unfortunately, the clock has struck midnight, meaning for us, we are out of time. But before we go, just a friendly reminder that for all the latest ag info regarding food, great recipes, and what's happening out on the farm, be sure you check out our Twitter, Facebook, and Pinterest pages. You'll stay informed and you'll see what's up in the world of farming and with us here at the show. Hey, thanks for watching, everybody. We will see you next week right here on the Farm Monitor. Have a great week.